Sono Maffeo Roberto, sono un pedagogista.
I'm Maffeo Roberto, I'm a pedagogist, and at the moment I cooperate with Città Metropolitana di Bologna and Institution Gianfranco Minguzzi. This video is made within a project called Educational Plots for New Communities, and in this period I should have had themed meetings with the parents, but since the parents, all of us, including me, are locked in the house, we try to find this way, that is using these videos. They asked me to talk a little about some things that came up, some feedback that came from the houses. Well, the children are not very used to seeing you at home as it is now. In this period, they are with you all day. You are there. While until recently, your children went to school and therefore they were used to seeing you early in the morning when they woke up to have breakfast with you. Then you accompanied them to school or went by minibus, and then you saw them again on their way back home in the evening after they had done the day at school and you had done your working day. Unfortunately, this aspect has completely changed. In these 2 months, we are all at home. However, in reality, many parents are, for example, doing smart working. Therefore, they find themselves having moments of the day that are busy. Obviously, the children seeing you there would want to continue to be with you. So maybe they will pull you, they will somehow poke you because they want to continue to play with you. They want your full attention. It's a normal aspect. When children are with us, they love to be with us, so they want our attention. But it is also true that we have to get them used to maintain their autonomy, a bit like what was happening at school. They have to be able to stay on their own, therefore not to have this kind of dependent affectivity, not to be always dependent on our gaze, on our words, on the fact that they want constantly to play with us, but they have to try to play and be on themselves. What can we do? We can help them to recover the timing that was at school, proposing it at home, for example. Of course, it doesn't have to be identical, but I guess you know that once they arrived at school, they had a free play time, then they started playing with the other children for about an hour or an hour and a half, if you're talking about preschool. For younger children, it could even last less, like 14 minutes. Then, with the teachers, they prepared for a moment of play. Then they prepared for the meal, they ate their lunch with the other children, and after lunch they played a bit, then they went to bed, and when they woke up there was a snack, and after that the parents came to pick them up. So, you see, a day with routines, with a good scan, and these routines helped the child to predict what would happen next. It's very important because children have no idea what time is, and they are still building it through experience. But this experience and what they did every day, one thing before and one thing later, allowed them to psychologically construct the progress of the day, and therefore to foresee that, for example, after the meal, if they played a little, then there was bedtime, and they understood that after the bedtime there was a snack, then the parents would arrive. So the day passed until the parents arrived. This is very reassuring for a child. Now all this has turned upside down, and it turned upside down because at this moment we are struggling to maintain certain routines, and surely our routines are very different, so we have to build what I like to call a different normality. We have to try to build a sort of normality within your home, to give back to children the security that comes from having a precise timing. For example, have meal possibly at the same day every day, get the daily rest every day at the same time, get them to play in the bedroom by themselves every day at the same time, or with you when you decide it's time to play together. This aspect must in some way be reconstructed. And therefore, I invite you to find ways of constructing the day, a definition of the day, so that the child learns to be autonomous and to foresee what happens next and to calm down. Therefore, there is no much confusion in his or her head for what concerns time. At the same time, this will also give you greater autonomy, because there is a time to be with children, but there is also a time to be alone. So we have to invite and help children to stay and play with their dad and mom, but also moments in which they have to play on their own. It's really a concept of autonomy. And this is possible if we help the child by building together with him or her this aspect of the day, which must be then respected. It's not easy to make it respected. However, if we activate this thing gradually, then we can achieve the respect of time. In turn, also in the perspective of autonomies, there are some rather interesting readings that help us. Especially for young children, there are readings that allow us to show, for example, that the animals got sleep. There are stories that show us that there are children who eat in a way, let's say, I eat everything there is to eat. I mean, there are possibilities of tools that can help us make the child stay within this autonomy. Each autonomy has its own internal path. It has its own internal evolution. What do I mean by this? That when they arrive at school, for example, when they arrive at the daycare and then go to preschool, between the daycare and preschool, they have learned a path within a single autonomy, which can be, for example, the meal. First, they were spoon-fed, but then over time they learned to eat more and more by themselves, to use fork, to stay for an ever longer time in the meal, and in the end becoming completely autonomous. Or, for example, children who go to bed at the beginning, children tend to sleep with their parents, as I imagine it's happening at this moment in some houses in which children have returned to their parents' bed. But slowly, we bring them to sleep more and more alone in their bedroom, and then first accompanying them with a story, then maybe they wake up during the night, but slowly the presence of the adult at night decreases more and more until the child becomes more autonomous within this night time. Then during the changing of the diaper, for example, children who initially have a diaper must be helped to be changed, but then gradually become more and more autonomous. And it's correct that they first use the potty regularly and independently, then the toilet, then slowly and regularly and more autonomously, they manage to go to the bathroom by themselves. So you can understand that in these aspects that mark the day, actually within each single aspect there is a path of autonomy, and we must help them to overcome this path of autonomy, therefore to achieve it. And to achieve it, we have to somehow insist, especially in this period where there is a tendency by the children to regress a little because they are living in a very particular context, which probably also makes them a little worried. Instead, we must try to restore what will be their future. When the doors reopen, the children will find themselves in a social context that will be done routinely, as I said before, and they will be asked for autonomy skills. So it's necessary to help and accompany them on these skills that they have to demonstrate to the world. Their ability to get by themselves in basic things, the basic things that we have said. They must be helped to become more and more independent. We parents can do it. We can help and accompany them in these things, and we can do it by trying to build a daily routine and then requesting a little autonomy within each routine. Look, children are used to these requests because they are requests that are always made to them at school, daycare and preschool. They are asked to wash their hands before eating. They are asked to wash their hands after they have eaten. They are asked not to be fed but to use the fork and spoon by themselves. In reality, they are very accustomed to these things. So if at this moment they have gone back a little, they have had some regressions, we can tolerate them because it's a particular moment, but you have to know that they are kind of making fun of you. So you can easily expect a little more in order to help them get back to what will be their normal tomorrow when they go back to school. Thank you.
Grazie.